Hey everybody, I have here on me the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra. Now this phone has been making headlines all around for its insane specs. Like the numbers are just kind of jaw-dropping in terms of how big the numbers are. Like 108 megapixel, 120 hertz refresh rate, 5,000 milliamp hour battery. Like all the numbers just pop off the spec sheet, especially if you live in America and the only phones you can compare this to is an iPhone or Google Pixel. But if you live outside America, or particularly if you live in Asia, you already know that there is a challenger to the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra. This is the Oppo Find X2 Pro, and really, this is the only phone on the market right now that can match the S20 Ultra spec for spec. I mean, almost. The S20 Ultra still wins in some areas, but for the most part, the Oppo Find X2 matches up very well. So this screen right here is a 6.7 inch OLED panel, Quad HD resolution, and it is also 120 hertz refresh rate. It is super smooth. Like, I'm spoiled, man. After using this and the S20 Ultra, I don't want to go back to a 60 hertz screen, because I also have here on me the Huawei Mate X, and while this phone is still stunning to me, I'm really annoyed by the 60 hertz refresh rate. Like, it just looks janky to me now after having used these two 120 hertz beasts. So both of these screens are awesome. And you notice the design's quite similar too. They both have a hole punch display, but ironically, Oppo is the one with the curvier screen now. Samsung's actually kind of moved away from that curved edge that Samsung invented, but now the Galaxy S20 Ultra, the panel is actually kind of flat. There's still a little bit of curvature on the sides, but nowhere near as drastic as the Oppo Find X2, and definitely not like the waterfall panels on the Huawei Mate 30 Pro or the Vivo Nix 3. Now around the back, there's also a periscope zoom lens on the Oppo Find X2. I mean, that shouldn't be a surprise because Oppo technically pioneered this technology. Oppo first teased this zoom lens back in 2017 before putting it into a commercial device last May. That was the Oppo Reno 10x zoom. So while the basic technology of this periscope zoom lens is the same as the lens found in the Oppo Reno 10x zoom and the same as the space zoom right here, meaning basically it's a lens that's placed sideways in the phone so that when you capture images can travel sideways through a series of magnifying glasses before it reaches the image signal processor somewhere right here. The reason it's placed sideways is so the image have more room to travel, because if you place it straight ahead, then you only have this much room to travel, whereas if you go sideways, you have this much room. That allows the phones to get zoom shots that are just way better than anything a traditional lens can do, like on the iPhone 11 Pro. I'm going to show you some samples later. It's not even close. Now, I've been using both of these phones for over a week now. I've actually took it out and about, took a lot of photos. So what I'm going to do right now is show you some photo samples so you can see the difference between these two phones, if there are any. I'm also going to compare some photos with the iPhone 11 Pro just because this is the main phone that everybody defaults to when it comes to referencing a smartphone. Now let's go over the camera specs again, aside from the periscope zoom lens. Now in the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra, you have a 12 megapixel wide angle camera here. I mean, everybody calls this ultra wide, but to me that's just a wide angle camera because this is the main camera, but whatever. Everybody's calling it ultra wide, so we'll call it ultra wide. And then we have a standard main camera here that's 108 megapixel. It's the same sensor used in the Xiaomi Mi Note 10, except Samsung has given this sensor a much larger image sensor, because you need a larger image sensor for more pixels, because more pixels in a photo doesn't automatically mean better picture unless you have more light coming in. And then you have a TOF sensor here that allows you to get bokeh images, but to be honest, it's okay. I mean, the bokeh images here aren't any better than on the Pixel 4, and you have the periscope zoom lens. So now on the Find X2 Pro, you have that periscope zoom lens here, and then you have here a 48 megapixel wide angle camera. And then down below, you also have a 48 megapixel sensor, but this is the newest Sony 689. Now Oppo says it worked with Sony to develop the sensor specifically for the Find X2. So the sensor, like, I'm not talking about the 48 megapixel now, but the light sensor underneath, it's actually the largest ever seen in Oppo smartphone or any 48 megapixel smartphone. Its sensor size is 1/1.4 inch. Now the Samsung sensor is still larger, but that's spread out over 108 megapixels. So for the most part, they're about equal, and I'm just gonna spoil it. I think the Oppo Find X is a little bit better in low light performance. Alright, for this first test, we're gonna go easy. Let's do a standard 1x photo under great lighting conditions of the beautiful Hong Kong skyline. Now you notice that all three phones produced a beautiful shot, which was to be expected given the optimal lighting conditions. Let's use this as a reference image for the next set of shots though. For the second test, we're gonna do wide angle shot. Now the first thing you'll notice is that the field of vision of the Find X2 Pro just does not go as wide as the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra and the iPhone 11 Pro. This is very similar to what Huawei is doing, because remember the Mate 30 Pro, Huawei basically made the wide angle camera and the standard camera the same pixel count so the image can be more consistent, and that is the same case here with the Find X2 Pro. Now you're looking at all three of these wide angle images, they look good. But if you crop closer and look at the center and look at the edges, the Find X2 Pro's image is sharper and more detailed than the other two phones. That's to be expected because the Find X2 Pro has a 48 megapixel wide angle camera, while the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra has a 12 megapixel wide angle camera. That's a huge drop off from the 108 megapixel of the main. So if you want a wide angle image that keeps the integrity of the photo the best, keeps all the details, and allows you to crop in without seeing, I guess, blurriness, you'll probably want to go with the wide angle camera of the Oppo Find X2 over the other two phones. Next up, we're going to go into 10x zoom from that exact same spot. So this is where you see the iPhone 11 Pro just completely loses. That image is blurry and noisy, whereas the S20 Ultra and the Find X2 Pro both captured a pretty sharp and crisp image. This is a really damn good 10x zoom photo. But you see the S20 Ultra, the image is a lot brighter. Now I think this is just down to software algorithm right here, because the periscope technology is the same for the two cameras, but Samsung's 10 times zoom is consistently better lit than Oppo's 10 times zoom. But at the same time, Oppo's 10 times zoom is just as sharp and just as detailed. Alright, now we switch to another location. Let's look at the 30 times zoom. So one of the things I really like about the Samsung Galaxy's camera is that when you tap on the zoom button, you have all these buttons down below that allows you to immediately jump between 30x or 10x or 100x immediately. And the switch between the zoom seems to move pretty fast. I remember when I first tested the S20 Ultra 2 weeks ago, there was a little lag whenever you jump into 100x, but not anymore. Samsung has fixed it. But again, you look at the two samples, the S20 Ultra's 30x zoom is just brighter than the Find X2 Pros, but still, just the fact that you can zoom in that far and get something that's not a blurry mess, it's amazing. The Oppo Find X 30 times zoom is still really damn good. It just looks a little bit dim compared to the S20 Ultra's 30 times zoom. Now ironically, when you dial up the zoom past 30, like say you go to 60 times zoom, then the Oppo actually wins. You see right here, Samsung's 60 times is still brighter, but this is a blurry mess, whereas Oppo's 60x still looks pretty good, even though again it's a little bit dim, but at least it's sharp, at least you can see the dude's face. Alright, now we move on to night shots. This is shot with night mode of the Siku Center in Kowloon. The S20 Ultra shot is the most aesthetically pleasing overall, but Samsung's post-processing also completely changed the temperature of the photo. In real life, the scene was a lot warmer, like the lights are more yellow, like on the iPhone 11 Pro's image, but the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra made everything look cool and blue. Alright, now we move on to pitch black conditions. So I took this picture in my bedroom with all the lights turned off, and just a little bit of light coming through from the window from outside, and you'll see Samsung's night mode is once again a mess. I don't know why Samsung just can't get its night mode correctly, but this is terrible. Look at the yellow post-it notes up above, it's blurry, and just the image is yellow for no reason. Apple's image is pretty good, but Oppo's night mode is the best of the three. Now we move on to selfies. I don't usually like taking selfies, but I guess I have to test it. Like, it's the same story here. Apple's selfies is by far the most natural. That's how I look like in real life. Whereas Oppo and Samsung both did a little bit of digital processing and beautification. Samsung is the worst culprit. Look at how Samsung captured my face. It basically smoothed out and whitened my skin. Now look at edge detection. All three phones did pretty good in terms of bokeh effects around my body and my face, but all three messed up my hair at the top. It kind of blurred out the top of my hair when it wasn't supposed to, but that's a very difficult shot to get right. I don't think any smartphone can do it. You probably need a real camera for that. Now we move on to portrait shots with the main camera. Now the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra, as mentioned, has a really large image sensor to make up for that 108 megapixels. And because the sensor is so wide open, that means the phone has a very shallow depth of field, has a very narrow focus area. A bunch of other people have already mentioned this. That means when you take photos of the Galaxy S20 Ultra, you need to keep the object at the right distance. If you're too close, it will get blurry. If you're too far back, it will get blurry. Autofocus on this phone is a little bit lacking right now, although Samsung is promising a fix. But you see that is definitely affecting this image right here. You look at the S20 Ultra's image, yeah, the bokeh image around the cat's body is good, the background is blurred, but so is the cat's face. The cat's face is not clear because it's out of focus. So another area the Find X2 wins in is in night videography. So Oppo engineers basically worked hard to develop this new nighttime shooting mode that uses image information from all three sensors along with AI algorithm to artificially dial up the ISO so you get a brighter image. And just looking at these two videos side by side is not even close. So that's about it for this comparison of the Oppo Find X2 Pro and the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra. These are the two most powerful Android handsets by far right now. Although the Huawei P40 Pro is just around the corner, so Huawei will probably have some tricks up its sleeves. But right now, these are the two best you can get, and the screens are just amazing. Oh, and I want to mention, I know the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra screen gets a lot of hype, but the Oppo Find X2 screen is, in my opinion, just as good. Even when you step outside under direct sunlight, I can see both of them about equally, so they get about the same level of brightness. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm going to have more videos coming up, including a full review of the S20 Ultra and a full review of the Oppo Find X2, and then probably on the Galaxy Z Flip and the Huawei Mate X. I mean, I know this phone is already a year old, but I'm going to use this as my daily driver and give you guys my real world experience. So if you're interested in content like this, please subscribe to my channel or follow me on Instagram at Ben's Gadget Reviews. Thanks for watching.